Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Walking with the Master. The base of this show is because there is a desire in my heart and in many to reflect Dr. Moses Powell, and this is what we're here for. But in that walking with the Master, I get the opportunity to actually walk. We take our time and walk with a master that I have the pleasure of interviewing. Now, this one, y'all, I tell you, listen, you better click subscribe now. You better let somebody else know, because you're going to start talking to them, because this is not just a walk with a master for me. This is my life with a master. And I've had the wonderful and awesome privilege to know this brother, who is a tremendous Grand Master in his right and beyond that, because he helps so many others. I'm talking about Grand Master Glen Perry. This is my brother who I mean, when I say brother, sometimes, we say that, and it's kind of loosely said, but I'm talking about if you know somebody that you've known for over 50 years, for so many years. I mean, back in the 70s, my God. Yep. Well, anyway, we might as well just get right into it. My brother, how you doing, man?
My brother. Thank you for the invite. This is going to be, I'm very, very excited that we're finally able to do this on social media and share it with the world. Yes. And you hit it right on the head. You really are my brother. We're family by choice. And so thank you for this opportunity. And you look great. Had I known that we were going to do this today, I wouldn't have put on my beard.
Yeah, I had to go get a haircut, But anyway, listen, family, I'm excited, and I know I must look and sound like, with the giggles and all of this stuff, because this is really my brother, and who knows me better than so many other people. I mean, in fact, he knows me better than my family, because we spend so much time together in the thing that we love. And that's where we're going to go right now. Yeah. We're going to go, as I always ask, to the root of the individual. I want to go to your root. I want to go to where you started. What did you get? Really, who introduced you to the art? All of that good stuff. And the beautiful part about it is I'm going to be real close to his beginning.
Right. That's right.
And I'm so appreciative. So Grandmaster, please share with me, share with everyone, just how, where did you come from? Where did you get the idea, the thought, the feeling to want to get into this thing called martial arts?
Well, again, thank you for the invite and the opportunity to share our story.
Yes.
Growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I was born on Pacific Street, raised on Park Place, right there in the heart of Brooklyn. And the streets back in the 60s it was really tough. I grew up with my mom, my brothers and sisters, but my dad was in the military. And so being around my mom and my sister more than anyone else, I got into like reading comic books and collecting stamps. My dad wasn't having that. He said, that's too soft. So my dad literally enrolled me into the Police Athletic League and later the Cub Scouts. And in the Police Athletic League, which is run by different officers with different talents, I actually was introduced to boxing is what they figured I'd get into. But I didn't like boxing that much because I saw another physical activity that they were doing, and they called it judo. But back then, judo was a little bit of everything. So I liked it more than boxing. Um, they called everything judo. We did a little bit of karate in at that time, but nobody called it karate. It was judo, like a judo chop. Nowadays, it's like judo chop. What's that? So I was actually encouraged by my dad to get into sports and martial arts. Growing up, I had asthma, and so reading comic books wasn't good for him. They weren't having any of that, and so my primary art is really jujitsu. That's the art that I actually started in, and meeting different people. You know, you and I both are so fortunate. One, that in Brooklyn, within walking distance, we had so many instructors, great
Yeah.
instructors, pioneers, that you go from one dojo to the next. But as a kid, this is not my formal years. This is informal. This is like being in kindergarten, being in public school. I'm not in high school yet with these masters. I don't know the importance or the significance is the better word of what I'm doing or what I'm about to do, but I'm finding my niche little by little. And that's really where I started. Um, Judo slash jujitsu, um, karate for several years. But I never, this is what something that a lot of people even today, they don't know this is, uh, I never left jujitsu or something that we call aikijitsu later.
Yes. Yes. Well, and that's great. So now Brooklyn, man, Brooklyn's such a mecca, as you mentioned. It was a mecca of martial arts where not just a school owner like today,
Hmm.
but then you're talking the Tong Dojo. You're talking you're talking serious schools that were massive, actually, that were around, and we had access to pass by all of them
Yep.
and stop in wherever we wanted to stop in. You know, it was just really great. So as you were introduced, take me a little further so that we can get into your upbringing, if you will, in terms of the art.
So my father grows up and he has these friends that to me they're just friends. But little by little, you know, like yourself, you're meeting your fathers, your family friends, and your cousins and your uncles. And I come to find out little by little that these people that my father hang out with are martial artists.
Mm.
And I'm talking about people like, you know, without using titles, George Cofield.
Yeah.
Uh, my dad worked with uh, Little John Davis, but I have no concept or any idea of what all of this means. Um, and then and other masters, and he goes to this place. He goes to a place where I'm not invited yet, but he talks about it. He saw, he's excited, and this is a St. John's Community Center.
Mm-hmm.
And back at this time,
Yeah.
uh, the different masters were laying down the building blocks of their pioneer journey. And you and I are part of that journey, but I did not know it. So I'm meeting people like Professor Moses Powell, and this is when he had a school. I'm trying to keep this, you know, as accurate as I can. At that time, he had a school in Harlem on 125th Street,
That's right.
and this
One
is
West.
this is pre Sanukis, but Sanukis is coming into birth. It was called something else, maybe martial arts complete or
Martial
self
arts complete.
complete. So,
Self-defense complete, correct.
yes, and but I'm just going through this as a kid, and I'm liking it. Um, I'm not giving this up. I'm looking forward to these classes more than I am with my public school academic classes, because I needed it's something physical. I needed a physical outlet, and so as I continue, but I'm still not into it. Then that's the thing when people say they studied 25 years or 50 years. Those first few years are, well, at least in my case, they were informal. but I'm building up to it. I'm in kindergarten. And so he'd have other people come to the house that he'd play chess with. And that was Sensei George Cofield, um, uh, Sensei or Soki Littlejohn, who worked in Gates Avenue. Oh wow, you remember that, right? He worked in
Yes.
Youth in Action, and that was later on in the 70s. But and they're always observing you. These senseis are always observing us because they are mentors, and they are stepping in and making corrections, suggestions, and giving us guidance. And they know I'm in martial arts, but it's not my time yet. But
Yes.
every encounter was beautiful. Um, you couldn't, I remember Professor Moses Powell would say, "How you doing?" And I'm being polite, and if I say I'm okay, no, and you can't say I'm good or I'm doing well. No, it's swell. You always take it up a notch. Uh, yeah, and um, and then I gravitate towards Jerome. Oh well, I start training under George Cofield, which gave me a foundation and a seriousness, a discipline that no matter what you were before you walked through that door, and this is where I got that serious, almost military, because he had come back, he was in the service. And as soon as you walk in, from that moment on, and it took a couple of months, that even as I walked out, my discipline, whether I was in my karate uniform or not, I was a soldier. I was a upcoming warrior, and I was starting to lose. I call it the childness, the timidness, because you're in the dojo. When you and I were in the dojo, this is the beautiful thing. We were in the dojo. First, I forgot to mention this, but I'm in a dojo where my teachers don't really want kids.
Mhm.
They're not.
Right.
You could walk in there at 7 or 8, 9, 10 years old. You're not a kid when you walk in that dojo. And all of the different masters that I just mentioned, that was a point that they made clear. If you're going to be on this floor, you're not a kid. You're not going to be whining. And you stood up tall. Your chest was out. Your chin was back. And that's something I learned very early on. And you could see that when we walked in the streets, we walked with pride and pep in our step. We wasn't, walking without purpose, so to
That's right.
speak. You know. So I got
Excellent.
that from Sensei Cofield, who I was with. Uh, you know, I was going to put a timeline and say I was with him for 5 years or 4 years, but the truth is, I truly believe that all of my teachers impacted me. I don't have a former teacher. I don't have an ex-teacher. They're teachers for life.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
That's right. I
And I
agree.
still try to stay in touch with them. Those that are alive, many of them, or most of them, have passed on.
Yes,
So that's my early years.
man. You know, um, uh, that's great. And when I think about uh, that time for me as well, I mean, this was the way. It was the way. There were those who did not go through the fullness of the way that, they got parts of it and whatnot. But as I recall myself, there was, you made the decision, you know, as a young person to be committed in the way that you commit yourself, and it makes me uh, to think about us,
Yeah.
and our relationship. And I do want to, I'm gonna give everybody the opportunity to know how we met, where we met,
Uh-huh.
and under what circumstances did we meet, and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, it, back in back in those days, I remember um, going to get a job, you know, And
Our first job.
yeah,
Mhm.
and that job was in McDonald's,
Mhm.
and you were already there.
Uh-huh.
You were already there, and I came in, and there was a
You
manager.
and you worked we worked different shifts. So it
Yes,
was easy for the people, our coworkers, to talk to one of us and not the other one, and just put ideas into our head. You know, but go ahead.
yes, yes, and you know, martial arts was our thing. So I mean, you know, I don't know what we did, but I remember, you know, the manager there, you know, the manager, I remember him talking to me about you know, someone else that was working there that was, you know, a serious martial artist, you know.
Mhm.
He's a black belt and everything, and he was pumping, you know, he was pumping me to, you know, like be concerned. You know, I'm like, okay, you know, be pumping me, you know, and of course he worked various shifts because I mean, whatever, you know, his shifts.
He was a
So
manager. Yeah.
yeah, he's a manager. So, oh man, was the first time, was it when we actually I know we were working the same time on that one
Yeah. We
because we were
started
getting
working
off at
together
about
at the
2 in the
night shift.
morning, right? 2,
Right.
3 in the morning.
So let me tell you the same thing. While he was pumping you, they were pumping me, and it wasn't malicious. That's the
No,
beauty of it. They weren't saying like bad things. They were
no,
telling the truth. What I was hearing is that the brother is a serious martial artist. He's really good. I've seen him. And so I'm not paying attention because I've heard, you know, and I hope people take this in the spirit and, in which it's meant. I heard this so many times.
yes.
And it's like a guy who says, I have a stamp collection. And they say, well, my sister collects stamps. And the brother, what he's trying to say, no, I really collect stamps.
Right, right,
So they're talking to me about a guy who trains, and I don't know if I even mentioned this part to you. They're talking to me about a guy who trains, and I think we were black belts at the time. We weren't brown belts, but
right.
he trains, and he's really good. He's serious, and I'm just listening to all of this, and I say, oh, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, he really trains. Who does he train?
Right.
Who does he train with? And as soon as they say he trains with Master Moses Powell in Chanukas, so I'm like, who does he train with? Master Moses Powell Chanukas. Really? Really? and and then my ears step up because I'm figuring now here what they're telling me must be true, and I got to meet this guy. But I don't really realize that what they really are trying to do is to get us in a physical situation,
Yes,
and
yes.
that was, but still, all of that is beautiful. It is beautiful. But go ahead, yeah, I
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
finish.
no, that was great because you know it was being done, and it's probably being done by the same people.
Mhm.
So you know, definitely a Div Bilal, right?
Yeah, Adib was the manager. Yeah.
He was the manager, and he was sharing because he acquired the information about each of us,
Uh-huh.
so he was
Yes.
able to talk to both of us
Both of
about
us.
each other,
Hmm. And
and
and we
huh?
had so much in common
Yes,
without knowing each other. I had no idea because I already thought that I was obsessed. Um, but I wanted to, I had to keep myself in check. I wanted to be a complete young man. So when we worked our shifts together, I already knew who you were. But I'm working, and the good thing too is you're working, and we were competing as to who could make the best hamburgers, who could make the fastest hamburgers, and we're already competing, which should have been a sign right there. But
right.
your energy was, and this is what made it so beautiful. I know who this guy is over there with the white shirt and the tie. Well, we weren't even crew chiefs yet, but
No.
I'm feeling your energy is good. But I'm thinking sooner or later we're gonna have to we're gonna have to talk martial arts. But nobody's pushing it. I'm not
No.
pushing it. You're not
No.
pushing it. We're not talking about martial arts. We're just working because we're there to work. And then
And to give some perspective too, how old were we back in that time? That was what's like 77, 70. What was it?
it was, let's say 76.
76. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which is important for our systems too.
yes.
It's not just about us. When we think about where our teachers were and what was going on in the 70s, and not just in the martial arts world, but in our social environment, the consciousness that our parents were going through at the time.
Yes.
This is the apex of Black power and consciousness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're like 17, like around 17 years old, I guess. And I mean, you know, when you think about 17 and we're black belts, you know, we're in our, I don't even know if, is there an earlier thing than heyday? You know, we're in super prime, you know, you killing it at tournaments and all of that good stuff. And you know, so anyway, we're there and we're being introduced to each other. We're working with each other. And then there was one night that we're working on the same shift and we're getting off at the same time. And we're pretty much closing at about 2, you know, we're cleaning up and it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, some late time in the morning.
Yeah, like 3 in the morning, and we're being coerced into an offer to go into Prospect Park and just move around. And you know,
and
everybody got to understand.
This is our first physical encounter.
First,
but it was a very good moment that brought us to this, including the manipulators, the friendly agitators. So this was a good moment. We knew each other well enough to say, okay.
Yes. So with our first physical encounter, you know, see the thing about everybody, the thing about Glenn is that he wasn't, as he isn't now, a slouch. He's not just somebody that was okay in the art. He was prime and recognized on the levels in which we were, you know, basically at the age that we were, you know, we were, you know, we were not
average. We weren't average. I mean,
average. Yeah. And so going into this situation, you know, it's going in with a level of caution and responsibility, because we both represent something. See, you know, when many people have a patch on their chest, they may think that it's just a crest, a patch, but it meant the world to us. I mean, what you represented, if a loss means your school loss.
Yeah.
So it meant a great deal to us, just what that, you know, what that meant. And I just have to say that, you know, we went in cautious. We went in with respect. I'll say it like that. It's I won't say caution. It was caution, but respect was a bigger piece, because
we even did something that I don't know if I've done before. And we did it in a way where it was, like you said, it was respectful. We both told each other that if we do this, this is not a game. Like, this is, you know,
right.
and that's weird, because I'm remembering this, And I
Wow,
know that
yeah.
that's really weird, but we actually told each other, are you sure you want to do this kind of thing? You know, something like that. Because listen, man, you know what I mean. We made sure that each other knew that that this could get a little serious, because,
Exactly.
like you said, we were representing systems.
Yes.
But by this time, I already believed in you because of your demeanor, and I realized, and I hoped that this brother was going to push me to my limits, and obviously you can finish, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Well,
you took me to a beautiful place.
man, it was, we were taken to a beautiful place. You know, when you look at movies, everybody, when you look at movies and you see two martial artists and they get into a fight, but they can't go beyond
Yeah.
checking each other, and so they end up no one loses.
Hmm.
It's like they both won because they became brothers because of that kind of activity. We literally got into motion. We began to throw various moves and whatnot, and to the point that I mean, he had legs, we had legs. We were throwing. We understood. Uh,
We were sweeping each other,
Sweeping,
doing
leg
leg locks,
locking.
and I was so, as I was into this, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know about your mindset, I'm thinking to myself, he's taking me to these gears that I don't want to be in, because the brother is, I'm thinking, oh wow, I have to block. And I'm talking about, I got to be on my P's and Q's. And we're doing this in the dark. And I'm
Yes,
thinking the brother is throwing techniques with authority, but I knew you weren't trying to hurt me, because in doing what we were doing, we had to be on point. But while I'm doing this, I'm saying, well, he's taking me to a place where I don't want to hurt him either. But at the
right.
same time, you're in motion, but you're not blinking, because you
That's right.
can't blink.
No,
Your defenses are on DEFCON 5. And so in my mind, I already went in. Let's just say if there's 5 gears or 10 gears, I'm already going in at gear 5, because I expect from you, coming from the
that's
school
right.
that you came from. And
That's right.
then quickly I'm at gear 6, but I'm comfortable. By the time we got to gear, um, and I think that you'll say the same thing, we never got to gear 10 because it was just too much.
Yeah,
Somebody would have got hurt, and nobody did. But we were
that's
doing things that, like you said, I had only really seen in, maybe in movies or stuff, because we went so long.
yeah.
When you 17 and 16, we went really long. We didn't take a break. And
Right.
and then we started talking to each other. And I
Ah,
remember we would be on the floor doing leg locks and getting each other in these locks. This is before I was exposed to Gracie Jiu Jitsu and all of that.
that's right. That's
This is
right.
before that, and we're sweeping each other. And as you're sweeping me or I'm sweeping you, the beauty is we understand what comes next after a sweep. You are protecting yourself. You're doing a break fall. But in the midst of my break fall, you're going to continue attacking. And I'm thinking, how often do I get this to be in a party like this? My man is checking me, and I'm loving it. But at the same time, I'm realizing this dude right here, he could hurt me. I got to be real careful. Yeah, and that's that thing of respect.
Yes, yes, yes,
Hmm.
man. So that was a day, no, a night
Hmm.
that I would always remember. I've never had the opportunity to have an exchange of that level ever.
Hmm.
That was the only time I've had that level of exchange where I could, I mean, from the exchange brought us so close together. After that is where, we then began to have such a an even more incredible time.
Yeah.
We were doing so many different things, so that
And it
was
came off of
awesome.
trust, because we already proved in that first encounter that we could trust each other. And we were talking about this before. We've never had an argument. We've never had any differences. And that's rare when you could say, well, we've known each other 50 years or close to 50 years. And then we started training together. And I would take what I was working on from my school, from my teacher, and I would bring it to you, and you would do the same. And as our journey continues, and we're now brothers, everybody around us knows that you and I are like, we train together.
That's right.
And we bring these things together, and we start creating something new without knowing it. We're not talking about doing this. We just
Yes.
bring our different experiences from our schools together. And from one moment to the next, we're now we're taking our skills to the next level. And this is where I'm thankful, and I hope people understand that we both have teachers, but we're on a journey together where you helped me get to a new place that I ordinarily may not have gotten to, or it would have taken me much longer. And I'm hoping that I'm doing the same for you.
You
And
did.
one of those things is, because we started training in the dark, we wanted to heighten our senses. And one of the things that you and I did that I had never done before is we would walk from Nostrand Avenue, because I think you lived on Kingston, right?
Well, I was on, let me see, at that time, well, it was Rockaway Parkway, but I used to be over at the apartment complex over on Rutland Plaza.
Uh-huh.
I was over at Rutland Plaza a lot,
Uh-huh.
But even before that, I lived on Rockaway Parkway, and then Flatbush Avenue.
Yep. So we became neighbors. That's crazy too, because little by little our families start gravitating towards each other.
That's right.
And one of the things that we did, when we were planning to work out, we worked out before we put our gis on. I would meet you someplace, or you'd meet me somewhere, and one of us would be blindfolded. This is crazy.
It's crazy.
We would blindfold each other, and that person that's blindfolded would walk the streets, cross corners, wait for lights, avoid getting hit by cars and buses, while the other one was a guide, but not a physical guide, just guiding the person in how to move. And that level of trust, and I'm keying in on your voice, but at the same time, I'm listening around me. And I became very comfortable with walking without seeing with my eyes. And again, I didn't realize it at the time, but the trust I'm building with you is it's paramount. And then one of us would one of us would do that. I don't know if it was a mile. Yeah, when you think about it, it would definitely be a mile or 3/4 of a mile. And then when we finished training, the other one would walk back blindfolded.
Yes. And this is the thing that a lot of people need to think about when they consider themselves being a martial artist. See, we weren't martial artists in the dojo. We spent more time outside of the dojo being martial artists and doing things that tested us. And I want to say this about you, your scholarship in the acquisition of things, such as, you were the man that had, wanted to come over your house all the time because you had footage that's like, where did you get that from? you had the movies also that we would be watching. I mean, because we didn't spend time frivolously or on other things. We were
like basketball and just hanging out. We didn't do that.
No, it was martial arts for us in McDonald's. Matter of fact, remember when we won that trip on the Mac bus,
Great
and it took
Adventures
us
or
to
seven or some Seven Flags or something.
yeah, we went to where they had, remember there was a huge tiger or whatever that was there, just about as big as the bus. You know,
Yeah.
it was huge. And we went through that part of that. I don't know where that was exactly. But we won that in our activity on the job there at McDonald's. But it was always, and while we were there, we took our geese with us, because while we were out there, we took pictures. We actually trained out there at the amusement park.
And yep, instead of going on rides, which we did, but we were there training, and that was crazy.
That's
But
crazy.
that's what we did.
Yeah.
And we invented or looked for every opportunity to train. And that's been like that all our lives.
Yes.
Every opportunity to train. And that's really weird. But I wouldn't have it any other way. And that's where I'm so thankful that I had somebody that was just as passionate and was keeping me on point, because I knew that, I don't know about you, but there was this healthy competition. I couldn't slack off.
No.
This brother,
No.
first off, this brother was never a kid. I meet you and you're a young man, appropriate, articulate, very, very well dressed. Your parents took care of you. They polished you. So in every way, and we both realized what made the other one uncomfortable, and we never stepped on each other's toes. So we were appropriate in our approach, how we spoke, and martial arts just brought us together and kept us together. And there were a lot of things, when we think about us knowing each other better than our own family, there's a lot of things that you and I did together. Yes. And it became our first things that we did for the first time together. Yes. And I remember that as we were training, I remember that as we were training, at some point, I'm gonna open up a school. I want to teach. It's in my blood. I want to teach, but I'm still a student. I'm a student first, but I just gravitate towards that. I'm going to teach one day, and without knowing, you're doing the same thing. And I open up my first school with my brother, and that was a blessing, that we could open up a school together, share that dojo as infants, so to speak. That was like one of the highlights of my career,
Man. And I was as I was heading earlier, I wanted to mention, in terms of scholarship, how you collected material, how you had so much stuff that you I mean, and you didn't let everybody come over.
Right.
That was another thing. I knew that you were that kind of person, that only special people that were really close to you, that you would let them come in and see some of what you had. You know what I mean? Because there was some stuff that, wasn't for everybody to see.
Right.
Because they would not have handled themselves the way they should in terms of maintaining, I don't want to say secrecy, but privacy,
right?
As it relates to some training material that was there. So that and to see you now, to have the opportunity to interview you, knowing that you have trained with the top art masters and are known by so many because of how you do what you do. It's like I said to you earlier, that I would not have thought any less of what you are doing now based on how I known you. See, somebody else may have said, you know, this is so wonderful. I'm like, this is what he did. I mean, this is this is in line. You know, this is just another level. This is a more maturity in it, but it's in the same line. Right. You know, helping somebody with something. I'll tell you this too. In our training together, you know, some of the things that you were doing, and I mean, we were always take from each other, you know. We would share, you know, and I remember, and many don't know, when it comes to my curriculum, I have been building it for years, because I remember taking, you know, and say, hey, listen, I know this is this is iron elbow here, you know what I'm saying? I said, I hope you don't mind me taking it. I want to put it in my early, you know, training for my students.
Right.
And it was okay with you, and I tell my students, I say, listen, this is from Ron Van Cleef here. This is from Grand Master Ron Van Cleef, and I worked along with a student that was tremendous, and this is when I took it. I don't ever see. I'm not the kind of person that is going to take something and then want to claim it like I did it.
Right.
No. This is where I got it from. You know, I just pray that how we do it is the way it's supposed to be done. so that's something I wanted to definitely bring out.
And it was an honor, you know, that we would share things together. And as I wanted to collect information, I found in you and I would search and seek out material. We would go to Staten Island. We would go to Queens. And one thing that we did too is to make it financially feasible. We took turns. I would get something, and we would copy it for the other one always. And it didn't matter. That's how we did for years. I would get something, copy it for you. You would get something, copy it for me. You would get images and photos and stuff like that. You copy it if it was something that I wanted, and the same thing. And you can't do that with a lot of people, because one is you might not have the means, or they just don't want to. Some people are selfish, and rightfully so sometimes, because the information can be misused. And that's something that I also I remember very clearly, that we could share anything with each other. And back then, this is a beautiful thing too, is back then, you know, I don't know if today's YouTube generation understands that back then it wasn't about belts.
No.
You and I were not, I mean, we knew where each other was in the sense of ranking in our different schools, but to you and I, it was never a competition of belts. It was just it was just a healthy competition with staying together.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
I would see you on your journey, and I would tell you stuff, and because you were so humble, nah, come on, man. Nah, that's not true. No, nah, come on, man. And I would tell you because I saw it. And in seeing it, it made me work harder. I think I told you this once. I really thought, do I want to go into Sanukis, because I already knew Doc. I was already being touched by Doc. Yes. And I'm going there with you, and Doc is beautiful. I'm a young man, and Doc is like 5'11", right? 5'10". How tall?
Yes.
But to me,
5'11". Yeah.
Yeah, and guess what? I saw Doc as being 6'3", 6'4". He was a giant, and I already knew the quality of what he was teaching, and I'm making a conscious choice. And this was conflict for me, not just because of you, but I'm in conflict because I want to train with the best. And I come to the conclusion, which is another compliment to you and Anton, was I don't need to, because my brother's here. I was able to get rid of that conflict. My brother's here.
Yes.
I could come. Doc, I was welcome. That's another thing a lot of people don't understand back then in the day. As long as you were a serious, conscientious student, whether
Yes.
you were a kid or not, and we didn't use the term kid. You were a
No,
young man when you
that's
were in
right.
that dojo,
That's
and
right.
that helped me because I got the best of both worlds with my instructor, my dojo brothers, and then when you and I got together, it was like I'm I got both worlds. I'm able to train in both worlds,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that was beautiful.
Yeah. And it absolutely was. And what I want to uh oh, I thought about something that had happened. It was just one of the things that we had done. See, we would walk everywhere.
Hmm.
We would walk everywhere. I remember one day, and nobody, if you had any kind of cinder blocks, or you you better make sure you secure it from us, because we would find somebody had some cinder blocks over by their yard. We're we're breaking them. We're going to chop them. We're going to punch them. We're going to demonstrate. See, anything we found that could help us test
Yeah,
our skills, we did it. and,
we
and,
used
and I
to
remember that.
we used to cross the street or be in a park and do rollouts across the street
Yes.
on regular pavement, cement, and I didn't think nothing of it. We had to do that because we were street warriors. I remember us running across the street and doing rollouts. And it was like, now I think about it, I'm thinking, yes, it's kind of
Crazy.
crazy. And we would do that's one of the things that we would do. If we had a free moment, we'd be in our regular clothes and we would start stretching, or you know, a minute, we get in our stance, boom, we start throwing techniques, and then we stop, and then we stop. You know, that was crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I think is missing in this day and time.
Hmm.
Uh, but the beautiful part about it is that we were and still are committed, and that's the beauty that I really appreciate about you, is that you are still committed. Now, I want to go into some of the things that you're doing, that you have done. You have association with so many masters,
Hmm.
and you do some things. Can you share some of the stuff that you're doing right now and that you've done um, to help other masters? You're I got to say, uh, you are someone who is committed to the upliftment of women
Hmm.
in the art, and I want to recognize that as well. And of course, that is akin to myself.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so share some of the things that you have done and that you are doing now in this time in your life.
Well, I, as you and I, as we trained, I wanted to go beyond the technique because the technique was something that was concrete. It was something that I could do. It could be recorded. Somebody could feel it. I wanted to know the 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 background of the techniques, where they came from. And I always felt that each form or each kata told a story. And the first story it told me was the story of the person I learned it from. And a lot of times I would learn it from someone and they learned it from someone else. So I wanted to meet that person. If the person was alive, um, I had left comic books. My superheroes were different instructors. And if I, like, for example, Soki Littlejohn. So I'm looking for Soki Littlejohn. I already know him, but I'm looking to get closer to him. And oh, that's another thing is that where we lived, I think we mentioned this, everybody's over there. So Grandmaster Robert Crossan is my brother.
Yes, yes.
We hang. He's coming to the house. I'm going to his house. His father was Reverend Crossan. So I'm thinking, oh, Simeon, Big Tony, Big T. So
Yeah.
these are martial artists that I recognize that are so talented. I want to get to know them, but I'm so amazed at who they are that I want to share their stories. So I had a typewriter, a brother electric typewriter, and I started documenting these things. But I thought I was doing it for myself because I couldn't find anything on my heroes in the magazines because they were talking about the Yamaguchis and the Funakoshis. But and Doc was the first one. I wanted more information about this man. So when I started getting that information, I started writing it and documenting it and sharing their stories with other people. And over the years, something that I've tried my best to do is as we grow and become mature, I've actually tried to stay in contact with all of them, um, and that's something I'm really proud of. And if I could help them, I give them the shirt off my back because of what they've done.
Yeah.
Not just for me, but what they've done for the martial arts community. Um, so I do my best to help other people write their books, write articles, organize their systems. I could be a nuisance or a pest in the sense that, uh, I believe that it needs to be documented, or your story will be somebody else's story, or they'll just say you didn't exist. And I got that from many of my teachers. Right now, one of my focus is a series of martial arts cards. I call them martial arts collector cards or martial arts profile cards. I got the idea from when we were coming up. Um, my friends would collect football cards and baseball cards. I never
That's right.
collected one of them, never. But the idea stayed in my head because again, I heard of I heard of somebody, but I couldn't. I heard of a Professor Ronald Duncan, but I couldn't find out, and there was no information on it. So
Right.
I'm reaching out to Professor Duncan. He's a friend of my father's too. And I gather the information. I try to do something which today I kind of think of it, um, not just connecting the dots, but making the connection. Martial arts in the 20th century or the 21st century, and making the connection because we're all interrelated. And I'm able to share those stories to the best of my abilities in martial arts collector cards. And this is something that I just do out of my passion for martial arts. There's no cost to it except time. I'm not selling this to someone. I'm not charging anyone. And in my mind, each card has a story, and each martial artist has their own special niche. And when I look at each person's card, I'm saying to myself, and this is really weird, I'm saying to myself, this is the best one.
Mhm.
This is the best one. And they're all the best that I could do. And I'm hoping that when someone reads your story, whether it be your children, your neighbors, your coworkers, they see you for the person that you are. Because you and many martial artists, especially the ones that don't want to be called Grand Masters, they're the last ones that's going to call themselves masters. People see them for who and what they really are. And if I can help in any way do that, um, that's my way of giving back because I've been given so much. And everybody has their niche, just like you do. You have you and the things that you do. I say this. I would call you on the phone and say, "Wow, oh, what you just did is amazing. It's incredible. I'm not surprised. I tell you that all the time. I'm not surprised because that's you. You know, you were never a kid. Um, um, I focus on also I try my best to write books that I could share with other people. I do write a lot for the system, which is information that the general public doesn't see. Not that it's a secret, but it's something. These are um, the building blocks to the system. And one thing I try to do is, and I think I do it rather well, is I try to get our students to participate in the future and the health of our system. It's not just the founder. It's not just me, but it's each and every one of the teachers. And my thinking is you don't have to be a black belt. Not everybody is going to be a black belt, but take this gift, take this art and apply it to the other facets of your life. Be the best green belt that you could be. And green belt is probably my favorite rank. It's my favorite belt for multiple reasons. Even the symbol of what green is, growth, maturity, seeds, what that is.
Yeah.
And that's, in a nutshell, that's what I do. I also, if I can, I try to mentor people. I think I mentioned that before, but to the
Yeah.
point where I push them. It's not a matter of somebody being my student, but I see potential in people. Um, and if I can, I'll help them. And again, there's no charge. I'm not. No, the charge is that you be successful.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanna say something, even if it's just for me.
Hmm.
The cards that you do, I really would love to actually have physical cards also that I could have, like, and keep, and it becomes something that my grandchildren can see
Yes.
and look at these masters and just have information about them,
Hmm.
where they can see so many of themselves as well as others, because
Uh-huh.
there's no discrimination in
Right.
what you do, but
Hmm.
you do make sure that our people are recognized and known. So I just offer that and say, I understand, but I'm willing and looking forward to purchasing, you
Okay.
know, cards, physical cards,
Hmm.
because you know your memory and we can take images and it's in a photograph, but something like a book,
Right. Yeah, that's a good
So
idea.
yes, it's just it would be very, very good if you do
That's a
that.
good idea. And I like when I go to different schools because I started this for myself. This was a small project. I would have the senior masters that I've been touched by on my walls. I took down the Funakoshis. I personally never had a Bruce Lee on my wall. That was the
Yeah,
furthest
right,
thing from my mind. I get
right.
a Karate Illustrated, and in the center would be Doc or uh, Sensei Ron Van Cleef or Shoki Little John Davis, Tayari Cassell, and they're going on my wall. And I'm figuring out a way to put these two pages together seamlessly and then
Right,
put
right.
it on a
We used to
frame.
do that. That's
And I'm
right. Okay.
yeah, meticulously because I couldn't find anything. I used to go to martial arts supply stores. They didn't
Yes,
have people that looked like me.
that's
So
right.
as I got older, I said, well, I'll do it myself. And I started putting them on my wall. And I said, oh man, this is for you. Hey, you could use this. And one of the things I try to do too is if I know a brother like Eddie Banks and I know his background, Eddie, and I know
Yeah,
his background, his affiliation, then I'm not just doing a card on my brother Eddie, his martial arts family. And by in doing so, I'm learning more.
yes,
Uh, I'm 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 really interested in the masters that look like us, what they created and how and why, especially
yeah,
because the big movement, that big boom came in the 70s. You know, many of
yes,
many of our teachers coming back from wherever, but most of them coming back from Vietnam. Um, and the mindset, I want to know what makes you tick, what
right,
made you develop this art. I
man.
don't just want to. I don't want to do it. I want to eat it. I want to feel it. Why is this? Why are you doing this like that? You know?
Yes. Now, uh, you you're not just a uh, you're not just a martial artist, but you're a businessman as well.
Right.
Um, I remember when you were in Mexico. First, let's start with the Mexico, and you were doing translations. You're doing all of this stuff. You got a school. You got students in Mexico. Say a little bit about that.
Wow. So so this happened to you too. I know that. And again, this is just how our paths crossed. So as I'm growing and I'm a black belt and I'm a teacher, now my teacher is suggesting that I get to know other black belts in our system. And he's asking me to travel and to share because I'm training directly under him. And we have other students that live in other countries, they live in the islands. He's suggesting strongly that you visit other schools, and this is your mission. I want you to touch other martial artists. He didn't say he was done with me, but I want you to take this and now pass it on. And I remember I got promoted to a significant level. And, I'll just throw out some names. Sensei Peter Urban and Sensei Ron Van Cleef, or Kyoshi Ron Van Cleef, they suggested that, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your time? Why don't you look at doing something like this? And he said, this is your job. You're responsible for doing this as, whatever, fifth dan or as a sixth dan. This is what you're responsible for. I took it and ran with it, but I went so far I had to take a plane. I went to Mexico. I got permission to open up a school. I opened up two in different areas, and I introduced his art to Mexico. And it was a developing country. I don't remember right now. It might have not been a third world country. Did the same thing in the Dominican Republic. And in teaching, you learn so much more about your art and about yourself. And that was a challenge that gave me cultural awareness that I needed, because I had become spoiled as a young adult. I was just spoiled. I go to Mexico and I'm given something that I love so much, which is martial arts, to people that can't afford it, but they can now because I'm giving it to them, because I have a job in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is be dedicated, interested, and focused. I'm not, whatever it is that you're giving me is not paying for the art. I want to give this to you. And my school just grew and it flourished. And I did something, not that I meant to do it. It took a life of its own. And I still have students in, different parts of the, close to the United States, but I still have students that have open schools of their own. And that, that's a feeling. It's like they're like your children, they're your siblings. And I'm really, really proud of that, And you did the same thing. You did the same thing, opening up schools in different islands, traveling across the country, around the world. And we live to touch people.
Yes.
That's what I did.
Man, awesome. And how did, because you have businesses too. You have some businesses, and you have
restaurants.
You're accomplished in that, So just mention a little bit about that, and did your martial arts and your I don't want to say worldly, but being open to so much, did that help you in the business itself? And how do you run your business like a martial arts school?
No, but I have the discipline in when I say I'm going to do it, I do it, and I do it if I say I'm going to do it, I do it, and I do it when I say I'm going to do it. And I think people start to accept that, and they incorporate that in their own lifestyle. And I'm pulling people along, just like martial arts. The way I did it was, I didn't have enough money. You remember the Tupperware parties they used to have back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple of people together that were successful in different areas. And I remembered that if they were cooperative and they would like to participate in anything, I said, these seven people could probably get together. And in talking to them, they wanted to do more. They wanted to go further. And I remember I got a couple of people together. One person was in the concrete business. Another person was just starting into banking and investments. And another one was worked for an architect, and I just got people together, and I said, well, I have the operating skills. I could probably get us into different restaurants, a certain spectrum of restaurants, and build a management team so that we could get in and we can open our own stores. But none of us individually can afford to. But if we do this together, you build the stores. One person built the stores, another person designs the stores, but the design of the store is already set up by the franchise. I'll operate the stores at a reduced cost to everybody because they're giving in their different skills at a reduced cost. We're not charging each other an arm and a leg, and we are investors in our own business. And the motivating factor for us was we did not want, this is what we all said, we did not want someone else to tell us the value of our time and to tell us when we could go on vacation, where we could go, and how long. And that was the mitigating factor. We wanted to be in charge of our own destinies, and we got together and we opened up multiple restaurants together, and it was beautiful. Wasn't easy, but it was beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
a blessing. You are a blessing, and your life has been one that has helped many people. Of course, yourself, but you have helped more people around you be better, and you continue to do that. I want to thank you as your brother and your family, your friend. I want to thank you for what you have done. And I also want to thank you for just coming on, because I know you're not the kind of person that really opens to this kind of thing. And
Right.
I know. So I appreciate you for coming on and helping me to share my story, because really we're together.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way I can interview you and not have something said about me. So I guess maybe that was selfish. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
and we really are brothers. The trust
no,
level,
really.
that trust level is, I look at you, I look at myself. What I feel about myself and what I want for myself, I want for you. Your success is my success. I see some of the things that you do, and I'm smiling, and I'm saying, I told him, because I knew that you were on a mission. And I remember telling you, I don't want to go into it, but I remember saying, he's molding you. Do you remember when Doc gave you a key to the dojo?
Right. Yeah.
And you were really young, but he gave you a key to the dojo. And I think you probably told me about it. And I'm thinking, what? And it caused problems.
Yes, it did.
With other, dojo brothers and sisters. It caused problems. And I'm remembering, he said, yo, he's giving you the keys to the house. I remember that. And I'm saying to you, he's opening up a world to you. And the amount of time that you spent in dojo made me spend more time in my dojo. And and you were so humble, always have been, even to this day. You said, nah, man, nah, he's like that with everybody. And this is, there are people that want their cake and they want to eat it too. No, you were given that cake and he made you eat it. And that's beautiful. And I just got to throw that out there. I got to give you your props.
You always do. And there goes another duel that we have. While you doing it to me, I'm doing it to you. So yeah, man, I really have enjoyed our talk this evening, and I really look forward to having you again, and we'll talk about it. and you know, we'll come from a different angle, where we, you know, kind of talk about some of those who we have aided, and maybe I don't, you know, we'll look at it. You know, there's so much for me to deal with you. I mean, we kind of did a cursory. We just kind of went over stuff. We didn't go deep into things, but we did get an opportunity to share it publicly this time,
right,
where others could hear our story, because this is really our story. This is our walk together.
Yep, down memory lane, and we're still walking. We're still walking together.
That's
so
it, by God's grace and permission.
Yeah,
and I'm grateful, and
I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Man, that's my brother. Come on, man. I want to come over to the house. Come on, you got to show me some of the special stuff there. I know you got it.
yeah, that's beautiful. And another nice thing is we're going to get together soon. We talked about this. We're going to get together soon and do a demonstration, a physical demonstration for our students, which I already know is going to be very similar to what we used to do, where we're able to do things with each other that you can't normally do with another uke, but
that's right.
We speak the same language. That's right. So man, I think that'll be beautiful.
Man, that'll be awesome now. Awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have students and grand students and all that kind of stuff, you know, where we have like our dojos are families, and they're going to benefit from just the conversation. Right. So clearly they're going to be looking for this kind of thing, you know, to see even more. So I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate you, sir. Love you. And I pray that you continue to
you are my brother.
Stay safe. Yeah.
Thank you. Stay safe and stay healthy. Love you, man.
Yes, indeed. Love you too. Us.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. You heard it straight from the master's mouth, not the horse's mouth. You heard it straight from the master's mouth. And you know, that's what we said, and we're going to keep on saying it. All right. So take care, everybody. Us.
Every student of a master here today, you reflect your master teacher. You want to walk like him. You want to talk like her. But you start by having an object in front of you that you admire.